Cool, so I just finished that first video. I finished it on a note and I immediately decided I want to shoot my second. I was going to go home, I was going to walk back up there, and I decided that I would actually just do like another lap of this field that I'm in and talk about momentum because I'm experiencing it right now. I was going to go and cut it off there, but right now I've got a bit of momentum, so I'm going to keep going. Momentum is quite important, and you'll notice this with people. If I'm about to describe you, or I'm about to describe someone that you work with, you're going to go, I know that. And this was me at one point as well, this was definitely me. So I used to work at a dealership that sells a certain German car with a three-pointed star on it. And when I was there, I started there before COVID, and I think I was there for about a year before COVID really took off. Maybe a little bit longer. Anyways, I never got out of being new, basically. I was new, I felt like I was new the whole time I was there. If you're familiar with Vox Day's socio-sexual hierarchy, I was a gamma male. I wasn't even a delta, which is below beta, which is below alpha, which is at the same level as sigma, but works inside the hierarchy. If you know that, then you know it. If you don't, that's total fucking gibberish. And you should go and look that up, though. It's pretty insightful. It's pretty true, and worth knowing about men. But anyways, I was like a gamma. So if you don't know what a gamma is, if you've if you imagine like a stereotypically like not nice French person, that's kind of what a gamma is. They're quite snarky. I was quite snarky. They walk around with a cloud over their head, thinking that they should be higher than everyone else around them, and they can't understand why everyone else is ahead of them and they're not, right? If you're a student, you probably have this, and I'm not a student, so I have no excuse. So there's that. I've never met one that's good with money. Maybe there are some out there, but they always seem to have money issues. They always seem to be like broke. But yeah, the main things are like being a social outcast as well. Not being able to have like likable interactions with people, not being reliable, being difficult. If you're at work and you're a bit of a saboteur, you are a gamma. If you are at work and you do things that intentionally harm the business a bit, you're a gamma, which is a low place to be. And I'm not saying that you should go, if you're in a shit job and you're in like a Amazon warehouse and your back is pained and your knees are like hurting as well, I'm not saying you should go in there tomorrow and put up a picture of Jeff Bezos on the wall and hopefully get some social credit. I'm not. You should probably be stealing from that place if you are working at an Amazon warehouse. I more meant that if you are sabotaging your own position there, you've gotten to the point where you don't really want to make the effort. I remember at one point I was meant to be like smartly dressed as a like product expert when I was working at this garage that I mentioned, and I was walking around in black muddy steel toe cap boots, and the rest of my outfit was totally normal. What on earth I was thinking, I don't fucking know. Anyways, so if you are at work, you know someone at work and they're having a couple of issues, like they have a furrowed brow a lot, they're walking around like this quite a lot. I do think there's some overlap with drug habits with this, by the way. But if you know someone who is, snarky, they think they know it all, but they can't understand why they're not getting ahead. They're kind of unreliable as well. They're maybe not great at their job. Then what they're doing is they're building momentum. And like I said, this was me at some point. And when bad things happen to that person, you almost think like, of course it would be them. Of fucking course it would be them. When it was me, I was, like I say, a saboteur. I was walking around with muddy steel toe cut boots. and a white smart shirt and stuff, looking like a total idiot. It's because I was being a saboteur. I was difficult to deal with, and I'm not saying this as some like admission of guilt. I'm not going, oh, I crucifying myself or something out here. I'm simply saying this as like a statement of fact. I don't feel guilty about this. In some ways, it was a crap place to work, but there you go. But just as a statement of fact, like I was not putting my best foot forward, basically. And when something bad happens to the person that's doing that a lot, the bad things seem to just stack up. It's always funny how if a bad thing happens to someone, it's that person, you sort of go, yeah, of course it would. For me, it was a car crash. I say a car crash, I actually knocked someone off a motorbike at speed. So that was, I just remember coming back, having to describe it, and I could tell that my head of business at the time was just thinking, of course it would be you. And a little bit later on, I thought that I had COVID, and they just brought out this rule that if you think you have COVID, then you're showing some symptoms and you get like 14 days off. And I went and I thought that I had it, and I could just tell that she was thinking, you know, of course it would be you. More recently, with me no longer being a gamma and me able to identify this trait in other people, I'm not going to get too into it, but I've noticed that with people who have come up in jobs that I've been in more recently, something bad has happened, and you just think, yes, of course it would be him, of course it would be them. Like, who else would it be? Like, of course, if you were in a class at school, and the class always seemed to be like getting it in the neck from substitute teachers, it's like that. It's like, of course it's going to be this class. There is that kind of thing. Now, when you are in a negative place, it's quite easy to build up that kind of momentum to make it so that bad things continue to happen to you. And there comes a point where, I don't claim to know how the universe works, there comes a point where you just have so much of that negative energy, you constantly keep attracting the bad things, and that's when you are unlucky. You are bad luck to have around. People do not want to be you or near you because, simply put, you are genuinely like a snake eyes at this point. If something bad is going to happen, it is going to happen to you, and it's almost like a form of magic, which sounds ridiculous to say, because I know that my first video there was about, you know, making 100 grand and financial advice that way. But this is almost more like a much more general advice. But it is almost like magic. That, like I say, a bad thing can happen. You can think, of course it'll be happening to him. Of course it'll be happening to her, or whatever. I can't think of it happening to anybody else. Certainly not to say that only bad things happen to those people, but those people definitely seem to attract bad things. So yeah, if that's you, if you're sort of at a point in your life where you might think that you're starting to get onto this like bad momentum, I'll see if I've got some advice for you. But that's a genuine thing, bad momentum. There's obviously momentum in the other direction though. And that's how I started off this video, feeling very positive about the fact that I've just shot my first video and going, well, let's keep it going. Good momentum is similar. As a car salesman, that first deal of the day makes a second more likely, makes a third more likely. Once you get onto a third, a fourth is more likely. The most I've had in a day was 5, and that was incredible. I know a couple of people have had like 6, and 1 or 2 people have had 8, which is mad. But the most I've had so far, after being in this job for about 2 years, is 5 in a day. I've had 4 in a day once or twice, and I've had a couple of 3 in a days as well. But it's just funny how once you get that first one, it builds the momentum for the second one. You are just simply more likely to get that second one, which makes it more likely for the third to happen. When you are building up that good momentum as well, at the end of the month, you get a good month, you get another good month. Your good months start to stack up. Now, of course, like the bad months do come along. There are times where people just aren't buying, you know? It's Christmas, people are thinking about buying stuff for their kids, not necessarily thinking about upgrading their car, and like, you're going to have a slow month. But not letting that get in the way. Like, you have to be conscious of that, by the way. I'll get onto that in a second. But yeah, you can allow that good momentum to build. And that feels really good. When good momentum is building in your life, that is the opposite to what I just described, because, again, it increases the likelihood of more good things happening to you. I said there that I'd get onto something in a second, and that was that basically, in a car sales job, or I'd say in a lot of sales jobs, you can have a good month, another good month, the momentum's starting to build, and then you do have like a bad month. It certainly used to happen to me that I would lose the drive, I would sort of lose the momentum and just go like, oh, what's happened here? And what happens then is that you go into the next month, and through no fault of your own, you've just had a bit of a rough month to begin with, and through no fault of your own, you then go on to have a second, rough month, and then a third, and you start to build that initial bad momentum that I was talking about. In order to avoid that, I think a bit of advice I could give is that you need to accept that some things are out of your control, which might sound very weird for someone who's watching a financial channel like this, because you're probably sort of semi-familiar with I don't know, fucking David Goggins or Joe Rogan or Sam Hyde or something like that. Those sorts of general advice. And I think a really good piece of advice is to take responsibility for as many things as you can. In this scenario, though, if there is something that is just out of your control, let it be so. Do not beat yourself up, because that's then going to make you think the bad month is permanent. If you acknowledge that sometimes they come along, you can let them pass and pick up where you left off with the momentum. I actually think that's quite freeing. It's not always good advice, it's not always freeing to simply just take responsibility for absolutely everything. Maybe my mind will change on that, but yeah, I don't know, maybe not. I do think that's certainly helped me in the past. So I've established that there's bad momentum, there's not being able to look people in the eye, there's not being reliable, there's being snarky, there's being an unlikable character who people can't ask a question without getting a smart aleck answer. I think there's something about quite a lot of I use the term gamma, but again, like that same sort of character, I think often they have a little bit of like a coy intelligence to them, and quite a few of them are probably smart. There is a very annoying coy intelligence that a lot of people have, who probably are quite smart people. You need to know that if you are every time you have a conversation with somebody, you watching this, right? If you have conversations with people and you treat it as a verbal sparring match, where you're meant to prove that your vocabulary is better and you're meant to prove that you're the smarter one, you are toxic waste. You are so unlikable. You are a gamma, and it's very difficult to deal with people who are like that. If you are that, and you're watching this, you need to know a couple of things. One, I'm making this list, and I should probably be making this list with the asterisks to say, right now I'm talking to my younger self, right? So no one's perfect. I definitely should have been told this, right? But one, you are not as smart as you think you are. Two, you're certainly not as skilled as you think you are. Three, going on the internet and learning things on the internet is completely different to doing them in real life. If you haven't done something in real life and you start giving people advice about it, you're completely unqualified, no matter how many books you've read, no matter how many times you've watched it being done by other people. Okay? So there's a couple of things that you should know. So yeah, so if you have that bad momentum and that's where you are in life, then focusing on fixing it, I'd say 90% of you guys who that describes probably don't think you need to be fixed, and it's the world that needs to be fixed, doesn't it? It's not the rest of us. The rest of us are all fucked up. You're the right one. But if you are watching this and you know that something's up, and you know that you could be a bit more likable, and this is ringing true with you, and you're ready to just take a knock, then I will have some advice for you. But that's negative. That's negative momentum. Positive momentum. Positive momentum. Like I said earlier, a little bit, part of keeping that up is actually genuinely realizing that some things are out of control, and sometimes you're just going to stress yourself out by taking responsibility for everything going on in your life. You need to be taking responsibility for a lot. I mentioned in that first video that you need to be a man. You need to be like a physical brick wall. People need to think of you as a masculine physical brick wall between them and some potential bad shit like bankruptcy. Okay, but if there are things out of your control, I actually think that part of that is acknowledging that there are things out of your control and preparing for them, and being prepared for when there is a bad economy, being prepared for a car that needs to be changed, or a fucking lesson needs to be learned. If you're maybe later on in your life and you're watching this, you need to be prepared for the fact that your kids are going to ask you weird questions at some point. I don't mean birds and the bees. Your kids at some point are going to ask about money. They're going to ask about your own parents, and they're probably going to ask about their health, right? They're going to get worried about their own health. That's all true. Like that is stuff that you need to just prepare for. I think that part of being like a reasonable person is accepting that not everything is within your control, and rather than stressing out about responsibility and taking responsibility, I think you need to be prepared. I think you need to be able to have a plan for when things aren't going so great, and that's part of the brick wall. So having the good momentum, if you've got that good momentum, you're allowing a couple of things to, if they are genuinely out of your control and you can't do something about them, do not let it bother you. That's something that comes up in Stoicism a lot as well. Of does it bother you? Do you have control? Well, why worry then if you don't have control? Also, building good momentum, not taking your eye off the ball. That is quite an important one. If you are building good momentum, I think you should be conscious of what's allowed you to get here, what's allowed you to be in the green zone for a bit, and make a few sales. What were you doing this week that meant that 3 people came in today and bought? What were you doing this week that had your line manager, your team leader, turn around to you and say, just by the way, I've been hearing nothing but good things about you. Just by the way, I noticed that. Thank you. Right? Just by the way, you get an email. Hear like you're working well. Hear like you're working like a man possessed. Right? I got that once. That was nice. Right? If significance is a driver for you, then maybe that's it. What have you done recently to build that good momentum? Keep doing it. Right? Momentum is built from the foundation up. So if you are still laying those foundations whilst the results are actually starting to, come to you, once the seeds that you've sown you can reap, still keep planting, right? Keep going with the with that momentum by continuing to put down good foundations. That is certainly advice I could sometimes take myself. Not think that things are fine, it's going to roll in this month because I've had a really good start. No, continue doing the hard shit, like cold calling people, like going out and speaking to people, like speaking to people that you might not usually, give too much time to because you think, oh, they're just looking, oh, they're just a service customer. No, sit down with them and build that foundation again, plant that seed again. If it makes the difference of 1 person a week, that's worth it, because that's 4 more in a month. obviously yeah. So building the good momentum, I would say always keep an eye on your foundations. I would also say make sure that work doesn't overwhelm you when you are doing that. So if you're, getting in the direction that you want to be going in, then yeah, just keeping on top of paperwork and stuff like that, so that you actually have the time to continue to plan, and you're not just dealing with admin and you're in over your head. Like, keep on top of that sort of stuff. Have a little checklist written down for yourself, and just pay attention to it. So I suppose the last thing I need to do now then is just end with, as I said, a little bit of advice for you if you are feeling a bit lost, if you think that description of gamma male was accurate to you, if you feel like you're in the bad momentum place. You need to start off with something small. And when I say something small, you're going to have to be the decider of what that is, right? If you're at a point in your life where something small to you is just finally paying 700 quid onto that credit card and just not using it again, and not allowing that to control your life again, that could be like there's something small, because that will snowball. Think about that good feeling and then go on to do something else. Brilliant. I paid off that credit card and now I'm good. Well, I'm going to try making a bit of money now rather than just spending it / paying off a bad debt. I'm going to try flipping something. I don't know, right? I'm going to put my time towards something that is going to pay me back, right? So maybe that is something small for you. Making that flip between no longer just not spending and paying off debt, but actually making your time more worthwhile, building a skill. Maybe for you now as well, something small is to pick up a knife and start whittling and doing a bit of woodwork. Actually getting the car onto a flat bit of ground so you can jack it up and do a service yourself, or do your brakes yourself. If you don't know where to start with cars, by the way, look up how to change a pollen filter and go from there. Maybe that's you. If, on the other hand, things are worse, the small thing may be as little as make your bed, right? The small thing may be as little as put down your phone. You've been watching reels for 3 hours now this morning. You're going to have to go on a little bit of a dopamine cold turkey. So put down your phone for the rest of the day. Actually pick up that book that you've been promising yourself you're going to read and give it a try. Get through the first chapter. Get through the second chapter. You're building momentum. Get to the third and the fourth, and now get to the 10th chapter, right? Do that. Maybe you're not even reading. Maybe you are just trying to keep yourself off of social media in some form. And that is a serious fucking epidemic at the moment. Maybe you need to just put a timer on your phone where you put your phone down and you close your eyes for 1 minute, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. Maybe that's where you're at the moment. I'm not going to judge you if you are in that sort of place, and let's be honest, it's not a place where you can do much from, right? You are at a place, if you are in that situation, you're in a place that isn't ideal, but you can always still do something from there. Like, you can always still do something small from there. Another bit of advice I have to anybody is do something small. No one's going to take you seriously if you're at that stage of activity where 3 hours of TikTok a day is normal for you. No one's going to take you seriously if you're going to start watching the video on 100 grand, making that in 3 or 4 years, and you start going around telling people that's what you're going to do as well. It's not going to happen. You need to start off somewhere small. Don't make like a big claim. Don't make another big claim that you're going to be here in X amount of time. Start with something really small. Go from there, and build up your momentum. So yeah, if it's reading a book, if it's just getting off your phone, if it's making your bed, please start there. Please start there. If it's making your first YouTube video and your second YouTube video, build that momentum up. If it's waking up tomorrow morning because you're watching this at night and eating some eggs instead of eating Cookie Crisp again, And maybe that's it. Thank you very much for watching.